In one estate, the morning usually began with screams, and today was no exception. Broken dishes lay scattered on the floor, and a trembling girl stood by the wall. She didn't understand why this was happening again. A guy as mad as a dog was pressing her against the wall. However, this girl was already used to his behavior. After all, she fought this mad dog every day. His gaze was filled with frenzied rage. The room was illuminated by a bright light. It was the girl's divine power. Calm down. He collapsed onto her shoulder. The girl thought that she had managed to suppress his attack again. The girl patted him on the shoulder and said that this time he had managed to calm down 10 seconds faster. Then she asked him to get off her. Unable to take it anymore, she pushed the guy away from her. Lifting her head, she saw a desperate look in his eyes. This guy wanted something, but couldn't say what it was. The girl asked what was wrong this time. The guy replied with one word, "Close." Then he took her by the hand and pulled her toward him. Gathering his thoughts, he told her to stay close, pausing between words. The girl understood that it was precisely because of this desire that they could not get closer. The girl stood next to this man, thinking about leaving the service forever. She did not understand why her life had become like this. Her name was Daylin. All the trouble started on the day she was assigned this mission. The spiritual hierarchy of the Raklion Church is simple. The 7 sons of God are the highest spiritual art. The one who gives all the temples is His Eminence, and also me, who heads the Church of His Holiness. And Daylin is not in this hierarchy. She is an ordinary novice. Being new when she was young and naive, she was filled with happiness and confidence. However, the longer she served, the more problems arose, and each day became more painful. Daylin did not have wealthy parents, so she had to work herself to exhaustion for 7 years. She regretted not refusing the offer from His Holiness, who had assigned her menial work. She had kindly agreed that day because she had no money and no patrons. That's why she is only given dirty work. Even if she tries hard, she has no chance of promotion. His Holiness praised the girl for taking on this small task, which was only to help a young gentleman suffering from the effects of war to integrate into society. In her mind, she was angry and indignant. She really wanted to refuse because she is afraid of blood and knows nothing about wars and military circles. His Holiness said that the girl had already been sent to the battlefield twice and should be used to it by now. However, Daylin said that it did not matter. After all, the issue at hand was helping the sick. Only I, who have been to war, know how much it poisons a person. Ordinary church servants treated the wounded bodies of soldiers, but only so that they could continue fighting. No one thought about whether they would be able to return to normal life after the war. And if the higher clergy and churches show interest in something, it means it is profitable for them. And since they sent her experienced novice, it means that the master's status is higher than that of an ordinary aristocrat. Daylin provided hope for salvation from nowhere, and if she fails, she will remain only an inglorious emperor. His Holiness continued to talk about the need to provide for those in need, to which the girl asked what would happen if she died. His Holiness smiled and said that in that case, God would grant her eternal bliss. The translation emphasizes that if she dies, there is nothing that can be done. If this situation had happened to her 7 years ago, she would have obeyed without hesitation. Daylin knew she had no choice but to obey, but during these years of slavery, she had become wiser. She asked what would happen if she felt so bad that she preferred to rule. The translation does not specify what she would receive in return. After all, it is a dangerous task, and if she agrees unconditionally, he will simply take advantage of her. Her Holiness paused to think. She considered that Daylin would never learn humility. Daylin smiled, because if he didn't offer anything, she wouldn't object and would just leave. According to the rules, the novices themselves were forbidden to accept money. Daylin worked for money she couldn't take. She grew up near a temple as a child, so she thought that was how it should be. She was grateful for a warm bed and food. However, after the war, her view of the world changed. She didn't want to live a life of futile labor. No one would appreciate her efforts. People are born alone and die alone, because that's how life is. And if that's the case, then now Daylin won't let herself be fooled. They'll have to say straight out if they want to use her, or she'll just leave. After thinking for a while, Her Holiness said that she had been watching her for a long time and knew how talented she was. She sincerely regretted that her efforts had not been noticed until now. She said that if everything went smoothly, even those higher in rank would recognize her merits. Simply put, she was in line for a promotion. If everything worked out, she would earn a place in the highest echelons of power. Beaming with joy, Daylin said that everything was in the Lord's hands, and she would carry out any of his orders. Daylin asked to begin the task as soon as possible. Hearing her words, Her Holiness said that she believed in her and her abilities. Then she snapped her fingers. 2 guides entered the room. His Holiness then said that she would have to help the victorious hero, a warrior from the 8th Berserk Squad. Daylin was very surprised. Perhaps it was just her imagination, but wasn't this the man who killed everyone indiscriminately? His Holiness said that he had completely forgotten to mention this, but she would have to act alone. And then he wished her a safe journey. He hoped to see her alive and unharmed. Daylin was horrified. Now she understood what Her Holiness's eyes had been saying. That was how she had fallen into her trap. Now that she was here on the young master's estate, she had to risk her life every day fighting the mad dog. His Holiness hastily sent Daylin to the young lord's estate. She had only recently returned from the war, but she felt herself being drawn back into hell. She had seen so much that she had no more tears left. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't cry. In the war between Rakleon and the neighboring state of Sorbin, victory was constantly on the enemy's side. With each new defeat, the fighting spirit of Rakleon's troops declined. No one hoped for victory anymore. The war was hopelessly lost until they appeared. No one knew who they were or where they came from. They were a few select soldiers who fought like madmen and possessed monstrous strength. They were the ones who changed the course of the war. However, after the victory, they disappeared without a trace. The allies called them saviors, and the enemies called them demons. Daylin was very grateful to them. After all, she just wanted this bloody war to end as soon as possible. However, after defeating their enemies, these saviors began to attack their own people. After that, they were called mad dogs. Although the war was won thanks to the mad dogs, they began to be considered insane. The emperor's second son, the former commander-in-chief, became a hero. All the successes were attributed to the prince. Daylin thought that even though they were mad dogs, they were also heroes of the war. However, the king ordered that the mad dogs be found and rewarded with titles and lands. He also ordered that they be cured and prepared to become representatives of the Rakleon nobility. This order was given to the church, so Daylin was sent on this mission. Suddenly, Daylin's train of thought was interrupted by the voice of the guy next to her. He thanked her for agreeing to come. Daylin modestly replied that it was all God's will, to which the guy replied that it was not an easy decision for a person. This guy's name was Lauren Truck. He is the 3rd son of the Truck family, and he is also a staff officer in the Rakleon army. Although he is a capable man, his role changed after the war. Now he is responsible for solving the problems of the 8th Squad. Daylin's face clouded over and she said she would do her best. Lauren said he believed in her because she would have to cope with him alone. Then he took a whistle out of his pocket and asked her to always keep it with her. Daylin was surprised, but the guy said it was a precaution and should be used in case of danger. It was designed to calm rabid dogs. Daylin thanked him and put it around her neck. Then Lauren said they had arrived. She would now live in this mansion. The servants came from Lauren's estate, and cleaning and laundry were done once a week. Food was delivered every 2 days, but there were guards here all the time, so she could call on them for help. Daylin asked how they could help her, to which Lauren replied that they could remove the body or die for keeping her company. Hearing this, She asked if she could also leave for the night. However, Lorne was already in the carriage and said that was impossible. Then he hurriedly drove away. The guards greeted the girl kindly. One of them offered to help carry her luggage, and the other welcomed her to the world of round-the-clock work. The only thing Dalen could think about was that life was nothing but pain and disappointment. Then the guard opened the door for her, and the girl went inside. The mansion was very beautiful and luxurious inside, and the further Dalen walked, the bigger it became. When she opened the door to her room, her eyes sparkled like emeralds. Her room was very luxurious. All the rooms and corridors in this mansion were filled with works of art. Before that, Dalen had lived in a small room, and her bed resembled a coffin. She had imagined that she would live in a terrible kennel with a rabid dog, but here, there was such luxury that she was even happy. Then, Dalen began to imagine herself as a princess in dance, calling herself magnificent and dazzling. However, walking a little further, she saw a guy sitting in the corner of the room. He was covered in blood, and there was rage in his eyes. Dalen was frightened, but she immediately pulled herself together. After all, when encountering a wild beast, one must not show fear. She greeted him, calling him a lost soul, clutching a whistle in her hand. The guy was just like a wild beast preparing to attack. Dalen thought about what she had said while dancing. Then she slowly walked towards him. He was very surprised by this decision. Dalen couldn't tell if he was sane or not. If he attacked her, she would surely be dead. The guy had stopped growling, so Dalen decided to try talking to him to see how sane he was. Just as she was about to tell him her name, the guy suddenly lunged at her. Dalen made a big mistake that day. She thought he was still human and that she could talk to him. Without hesitation, the girl used the whistle. Strangely enough, it had an effect on the dog. Opening her eyes, Dalen saw the man lying on the floor. The man was unconscious. Dalen was frightened. She didn't understand what she had done to him. Coming closer, she asked how he was feeling. She hoped he wasn't dead, because he wasn't breathing. Coming to her senses, she moved away from him because she had just nearly died at his hands. After standing there for a couple of seconds, Dalen didn't see any movement from the rabid dog. Then she decides to check if he is dead. She quietly creeps up to him, hoping that he is not pretending to be dead in order to kill her. She gently pokes him on the shoulder, hoping that she has not killed him, because otherwise she will become a murderer. Her attention was drawn to a mark on the gentleman's neck. It looked as if a rope had been tied around his neck. Dalen assumed that it was all because of the whistle, although she felt nothing in it except divine power. She was horrified to think that he looked like a hanged corpse. She decided to use the whistle less often. Feeling sorry for him, she laid him on his back so that he would be more comfortable. The muscles on his back were so strong that his head seemed to float in the air. Then she decides to take care of him since the pillow is nearby. Then she said that she is not that kind at all. Dalen thought that things were bad because he didn't even move. Although, since he is snoring, he is definitely alive. Looking at his body, she saw a fresh wound. As it turned out, Dalen was too kind, always ready to help. Deceiving her was as easy as deceiving a child. She knew she was meddling in something that wasn't her business, but she decided to help anyway. She sat on top of the young gentleman and opened his shirt. She was surprised by the number of scars on his body. Then, as an apology, she decided to do him a special favor. She said it would be their secret. She also hoped that he would not tell anyone about her foolishness. Even as a little girl, Dalen noticed that her gift was special. She understood that there was no one to protect her, and if her gift became known, people would start to use it. So she carefully hid it. It would take an ordinary church minister half a day to heal such wounds. Dalen was proud of healing his body, and now she wanted something sweet. She hoped that the food here would be as good as the mansion itself. While Dalen was wondering what the young gentleman with the handsome face ate, the guy woke up. And what a surprise it was to wake up and find a girl touching his chest. He sat up abruptly and hit her with his head, knocking Dalen away. Blood was coming from her nose, and she thought she was going to die. But no. She was alive. Dalen told him that she had done nothing wrong. She had undressed him to heal him. She asked him not to look at her as if he had lost his virginity. On the other hand, she was glad that his mind had returned to the point where he now felt shame. Then she approached him with the intention of completely healing his wounds. She said it wouldn't hurt, only warm and pleasant. Dalen asked if he felt better. She understood that everyone in his squad had animal-like sensitivity, so the sound of her footsteps was unbearable for him. Dalen was almost certain that with the help of divine power, she would be able to calm him down. She asked if he could tolerate her voice. He said he could. Then she asked him his name. The guy replied that his name was Kels. Dalen said he had a beautiful name, but who had given it to him? However, Kels did not know. She asked how often he had such outbursts. However, judging by the expression on his face, the young man did not understand the question. Suddenly, Dalen's stomach growled, and the young man clearly did not like the sound. She was frightened, but decided not to show it. Dalen said she would go and eat something right away so her stomach wouldn't growl. She asked if he wanted to eat, and if so, she would bring him some food. Kels said yes. Although he doesn't say anything, he can answer questions with short answers. Dalen asked him to wait for her on the sofa while she went to get some food. He said yes and obediently walked toward the sofa. Everything turned out better than Dalen had imagined. She was tired of constantly waiting for an attack. However, she thought that if she didn't provoke him, he would behave himself. On the way, Dalen smelled a delicious aroma coming from the kitchen. She didn't know what it was. Maybe beef? At that moment, she didn't know what awaited her ahead. At that moment, a girl was sitting at the table. She assumed that Dalen had already met the young gentleman. Then she turned to a boy named Sebastian and asked if he was also looking forward to the meeting. As it turned out, they were mother and son. During dinner, Kels splattered blood all over the table. Dalen was horrified by the sight. All the dishes in his hands broke and cut him. At that moment, somewhere on the estate, the girl was sure that Kels would become a wonderful person. Seeing the wounded Kels, Dalen rushed to his aid. As she began to heal him, she smelled a sweet scent. It turned out to be juice, not blood. Dalen exhaled and said she thought he was covered in blood. She began to ask him why he had spilled the juice. Looking up, she saw an enraged dog. Dalen thought she was definitely going to die this time. She turned to God and asked him if she could use her money after death to buy her own house with a garden in paradise. At that moment, Kels put his hand on the girl's shoulder and said, "Poison." Dalen was surprised. Kels spat out his food and said breathlessly that all the food was poisoned. Fortunately, the poison had no effect on the young gentleman. When asked how he knew there was poison in the food, he replied that it was because of the taste. Fortunately, Dalen did not have time to touch the food, as she was shocked by Kels's animalistic behavior. After a while, Kels left the food on the floor, which was safe to eat because it wasn't poisoned, but it looked inedible. In the end, Dalen had several options. Either she would die of hunger, be poisoned, or be eaten by a hungry mad dog. After gathering her thoughts, Dalen calmed down. She would be able to survive this shitty situation. Then she told the young gentleman to trust her. She was about to show him something. Running out of the room, she asked him to wait there. From a distance, only her words that she could do it could be heard. Running into the kitchen, she examined the vegetables. There definitely couldn't be any poison in the potatoes, carrots, or flour. One of the guards brought what Lady Dalen had asked for. He asked if what he had brought was enough. He also contacted Lord Lauren, so he would be arriving soon. Dalen thanked him for his good work. However, she doubted whether she could cook something tasty. It had been a long time since she last cooked a meal. All she knew about cooking was that vegetables had to be washed and soup had to be stirred. The vegetables tried so hard to be good ingredients for a fancy dish. Not for this girl's experimental dish. The vegetables were very sad about their fate, but the knife greeted them and set to work. Their cries could be heard throughout the neighborhood. At sunset, a carriage arrived at the mansion. It was Lord Lauren, rushing to see Lady Dalen. When he saw her, he asked what was wrong, whether he had killed someone or someone was on the verge of life and death. Dalen asked him to be quiet because the gentleman was in a bad mood because he had not yet eaten. Lauren apologized for the panic. Dalen said she didn't expect him to return so soon, since he was a nobleman and a knight. She had just started to explain that she had called him for a reason when she suddenly smelled smoke. Lauren asked what it was, and then, seeing the bird, suggested that she was fond of curses. Dalen objected, saying that it was dinner. Lauren apologized, saying he had been mistaken because of the small, cute portion. Dalen said it was better than poisoned food. Besides, the gentleman had caught this bird for her. A few hours ago, Dalen tried to cook a dish from the ingredients in the kitchen. She cooked the soup for too long, so Dalen was very worried that the gentleman had gone mad. Entering the room, Dalen saw a calm Kels standing by the window with a candlestick in his hands. His face was so beautiful. Despite his clothes, Kels looked like an aristocrat. While Dalen was thinking about this, Kels caught a bird. At that moment, he was like a predator. Kels said he had caught food. Dalen was very surprised. Dalen said that she thought the gentleman wanted meat, so she was preparing dinner again. Then Lauren said that he was looking forward to the day when Kels would successfully debut as an aristocrat, to which Dalen asked him to let her know when his conscience returned. Lauren praised her, saying that progress was already visible. And then he said that at this rate, there would be no problems when Lady Charlotte arrived. Dalen asked who was coming. At that moment, Lauren clutched his head in his hands, as he had forgotten to tell her. Lady Charlotte and Prince Sebastian, members of the imperial family, would be arriving soon. They were very interested in Kels. At that moment, Dalen's world fell apart, and her whole life flashed before her eyes. The emperor had 2 wives. When the first empress died, his mistress Penelia became the second. However, the emperor's feelings for her quickly cooled. Then he became infatuated with another woman. It was the beautiful Charlotte. As a result, people nicknamed Charlotte the Third Empress. It is also well known that the emperor favors Charlotte and her son Sebastian. Dalen imagined Charlotte and Sebastian approaching Kels to introduce themselves. Dalen was very nervous. After all, she would be beheaded for the death of members of the imperial family. She was responsible for Kels's behavior. However, Lauren reassured Dalen, saying that they would come prepared with guards. Dalen said that she was not worried about them, but about something else. However, Lauren assured her that everything would be fine. Then he said that the only thing he couldn't protect her from was this poisonous slop. He was surprised that Dalen considered it soup and was planning to make Kels eat it. Dalen said that her soup was better than all the poisoned dishes they served here. Lauren reacted strangely, saying that this happens often. When he saw the soup, Lauren quickly grabbed the pot, trying to burn Satan's creation. Dalen begged him not to throw it away, because it was her first meal of the day. Then Lauren cried, saying that in this world there are things that are obvious at first glance, and he doesn't want anyone to eat this poison. Dalen said that she was so hungry right now, so he should let her eat the soup. Suddenly, the burned bird came back to life and flew away. Then Lauren asked her if her magic could bring things back to life. Dalen replied that it seemed that way. Then Lauren said he would send her food and a cookbook and suggested throwing away the strange soup. Dalen agreed, feeling hurt. At that moment, a hungry and angry Kels entered the kitchen. Upon entering, he demanded food. In the end, they obediently served him this devilish soup. Without hesitation, Kels took the soup and began to eat. Lauren and Dalen were shocked that their master had actually decided to eat it despite its disgusting appearance. Dalen asked if it tasted normal. Then Kels reached out and asked for seconds. Dalen hurriedly ran to get another serving. Lauren was delighted and thought that God was indeed watching over Lady Dalen. Then he turned to Kels and asked what kind of poison was in the food. Kels replied that it was Chirin grass and Anda's acid. Dalen was surprised and asked Lauren if he knew how to distinguish poisons. Lauren said yes, because the entire 8th squad had been trained to identify poisons and develop resistance to them. Dalen asked if their keen eyesight, hearing, and sense of smell were also the result of training. Lauren said that the training had rather enhanced their innate abilities. He had also heard that they had even used various spells during their training. All invisible powers are considered divine and are controlled by the church. With the exception of combat priests, the rest can only use these powers to kill people. But using spells to turn children into weapons? Dalen was shocked. She asked Lauren if the church was involved. After a short pause, he asked if she really wanted to know. While Dalen was thinking, Kels approached her with a pot of devil's soup. He began to eat it straight from the pot. After that, Dalen replied that she didn't want to know, because she was just an ordinary church novice. Lauren was pleased to hear this. Then he said that when raising children for the 8th squad, no mistakes were allowed. There are no failures among them. It may seem strange, but there are many ways to erase a person as if they never existed. Understanding the hint, Dalen said she would not let him down. In the evening, Lord Lauren left the estate. Dalen watched him go. It had been a long and difficult day for her. In the evening, after watching the gentleman, Dalen decided to try her food. It turned out that the soup was no better than poison. In the end, she simply ran away, wishing everyone bon appetit. Lauren was in dire need of her healing after eating the meal. Dalen lay down on the bed. Her stomach was growling loudly, but she consoled herself with the fact that at least her bed was comfortable. After thinking for a moment, she decided it was time to take care of herself. She took a blanket and went to bed. She had never had such a soft blanket before. Maybe Dalen's meal wasn't very filling or tasty, but at least she would sleep well. Dalen hoped she would be able to sleep late. Sensing something was wrong, she turned around and saw an angry Kels standing in front of her. After gathering her thoughts, Dalen began searching for her whistle. Finding it, she showed it to Kels to test her theory. As it turned out, Kels was indeed afraid of it. Kels was clearly holding himself back from tearing Dalen to pieces. Then he said, loudly. Dalen asked what was wrong. Kels replied that she walks, talks, and breathes loudly. Dalen was shocked. She didn't think he would be able to explain the reason for his anger. Then Dalen apologized, because she had never slept in such a bed before. If he went back to his room, she would be quieter. Then she remembered that her room was in the opposite direction from his room. As it turned out, Kels's hearing was too sensitive and sharp. He heard her footsteps from so far away. Dalen knew that Kels was sensitive, but not that much. She was shocked, and apparently, he wouldn't be able to go to his room. Then Dalen said that she couldn't sleep either, so she suggested they talk. Maybe after talking, they would want to sleep again. She invited him to sit there while Dalen went to make tea. Kels had a very upright posture, like an aristocrat. When he sat down, he looked like a museum exhibit. Dalen said she had some tea left over from earlier, but it had gone cold. Perhaps she should go and make some more, but she didn't feel like it. Then Dalen handed him the teapot, saying he shouldn't be surprised. Kels asked if she was a warrior priest. Pouring fresh tea, Dalen replied that she was not. Priests are divided into several types. Ordinary priests take office after theological training. Natural priests are born with divine power. They are found and made priests. There are also combat priests, who have special combat abilities. They participate in battles. Usually, this divine power is the power of healing. But sometimes, it can manifest as telekinesis or the power of fire. All priests with such powers, without exception, are sent to the front lines. Dalen knew how to heal and is in fact considered a warrior priest, but she does not want to die early, so she asked to keep it a secret. Suddenly, Kels poured all the tea into his mouth. Then he said that the tea was hot. Dalen stood up and said that she had just boiled the kettle, and she began to heal him. She poured him tea again, explaining that he should drink slowly. Dalen was an ordinary novice until one day her divine powers manifested, but this only led to an increase in her workload. She doubts that her life will get better if she tells anyone about her special power. If you look at Kels, he went through all that training and risked his life in war. And in the end, he was left with a sexy body. Coming to her senses, Dalen slapped her cheek, saying what she was thinking. Then she asked if he minded if she lit a candle. Then she lit the candle with magic. However, Kels was dissatisfied. Dalen asked if she should blow out the candle. However, Kels silently drank his tea. Dalen said that he seemed more relaxed. He said that he felt a little better. Then Dalen asked if he could hear any other sounds besides her voice. Kels said that outside the window, 3 birds were jumping from branch to branch, 5 mice were walking around somewhere, and the guards were changing shifts. Now Dalen understood why he was so angry. Then she decided to try covering his ears. She reached out to Kels. However, Kels was not happy with this action. Then Dalen thought that she was so tired that she had gone mad. Then she used magic to remove the noise around them. Dalen asked how he usually spent his time. Kels said he trained, slept, and ate. Dalen couldn't sleep that night. Last night, Kels calmed down and went to his room after Dalen talked to him a little and signed him with divine power. He must have been sleeping soundly, but Dalen couldn't sleep at all. She could hear his every breath. At first, Dalen was worried that she would be poisoned, and now she had to worry about not breathing too loudly in her sleep. Realizing that Dalen was talking too loudly, she covered her mouth with her hands. After all, if Kels wasn't asleep, he might go crazy and come after her. Then she decides to get up and quietly go make breakfast. Suddenly, loud voices can be heard from the street. It was the people who had brought the groceries. They were surprised that the house was so empty. They assumed that either a sick person or a bastard lived there. Dalen didn't know what to do because she couldn't shout at them to be quiet. At that moment, Kels was already above them, ready to kill them. One of them noticed the growling of an animal. But it was too late. The rabid dog had already begun its attack. Let's take a closer look at this situation. It appears that 2 mature and serious men are delivering groceries. Ignoring their employer's words, they walk along and have fun. We asked Lord Lauren if they would be able to complete the task. He replied that if they took his word seriously, they would survive. If not, there would be 2 more corpses to dispose of. And even if they did survive, they would still need to be disposed of for safety reasons. Such is the fate of unfortunate workers. Let's return to the present, where a dark shadow hangs over the workers. At the moment of Kels's attack, Dalen jumped out of the window. She didn't understand why she jumped when she could have just blown the whistle. Seeing her, Kels immediately ran to save Dalen. Fortunately, Kels managed to catch Dalen. However, the landing was not soft for him. The staff rushed to them, asking why she had jumped out of the window. However, Dalen was angry that they had disobeyed her warnings. She told them to leave immediately without making a sound. One of them objected, saying that their job was to deliver the boxes to the door. Dalen shouted at them to leave immediately if they valued their lives. Seeing the enraged man, they quickly got up and ran away. Left alone in silence, Dalen said she was glad they had listened to her and left. Remembering that Kels had caught her when he was enraged, she decided that he had come to his senses. So Dalen decided to thank him. However, judging by his expression, Dalen decided that he had caught her reflexively. Kels was angry, and she grabbed him in an attempt to stop him. She asked him to let them go at least once. However, upon closer inspection, Dalen saw Kels's worried face. She explained to him that they had just brought food. After her words, Kels calmed down a little. Dalen realized that words also help. If you think about it, he is just a man with heightened senses. In addition, he spent a lot of time on the battlefield, and then they constantly tried to poison him. Dalen's task is to teach him how to live in peacetime. She will treat him like a human being to help him become one. In any case, she was glad that she had handled the situation thanks to her quick reaction. At that moment, the guards came out. Seeing them, Dalen called out to them. She said that they must have slept well. The guards immediately understood what had happened and sincerely apologized. Entering the room, Dalen told Kels to lie down on the bed over there. Judging by his expression, Kels did not understand what he was supposed to do. Dalen took his hand and led him to the bed. Then she laid him down. Today, Dalen plans to treat his back, so she asked him to turn over. Then Kels said he was uncomfortable. At his request, Dalen turned his head. However, Kels was still uncomfortable. Then he said that he was more comfortable on the floor. Then Dalen realized that he was not used to a soft bed, because he had slept on it very little. She said that he would be much more comfortable once he got used to it. She also said that he was not at war now. He could relax and let go of control. Dalen noticed that Kels didn't know how to answer difficult questions. That would have to be corrected. Dalen remembered that all the aristocrats she had met were nasty scoundrels. She hoped she wouldn't have to turn him into one of them. Perhaps Dalen should turn him into the kind and gentle man that girls dream of. She stroked his back and said they would start with sleep in bed. When Kels finally fell asleep, Dalen went to the kitchen to prepare food for this muscular man. However, Kels had already woken up. The pacifier and bib were made up. Dalen said she was going to start cooking. She called Kels to check the food for poison. Although she was ashamed to use the future aristocrat as a sniffer dog, it was necessary for her survival. Kels determined whether there was poison in the food by its smell. Now Dalen will cook according to a cookbook. Lord Lorne took care of it and sent a whole box of cookbooks. Dalen opened the book and immediately closed it. She didn't understand anything, as if the book were in a foreign language. It was strange, because she was good at reading and writing. Seeing Kels's interest, she showed him the book. After sniffing the book, Kels said there was no poison in it. It turned out he was just doing his job. Dalen said that fortunately, there was no poison in it. Would Kels like to see what was inside? It turned out that Kels couldn't read. That meant Dalen would have to teach him. Dalen was angry at those who raised the children in his squad, and who decided it was a good idea in the first place. Dalen said she would have to teach him to read. Kels asked what that meant. There was no anger on Kels's face, but he was in no hurry to answer. Did that mean he was thinking about it? Dalen said that all noble aristocrats could read, so he had to learn too. But before that, he had to not die of hunger. So now Dalen had to feed him. Dalen read in the book that vegetables should be cut into small pieces. But she didn't understand what that meant. However, Kels said he knew. Then Dalen suggested that the gentleman try it. When Kels picked up the knife, something changed in him. Dalen completely forgot that this man had once been a weapon. She was already preparing to run because she didn't know what he might do. Kels's gaze fell on the vegetables, which prayed to survive. Instead of attacking Dalen, Kels skillfully chopped the vegetables. Dalen was amazed. She felt like she had seen a technique that had not yet come into the world. She felt like she had seen the future of humanity. After a couple of seconds, everything was finished. Looking at the result, Dalen was surprised. She wasn't sure if that was how small pieces should look. However, Kels said that everything was correct. That was how he cut up the bodies of enemies and prisoners. Dalen was shocked by what she heard. She prayed for the cruelly killed onions and carrots. Then Dalen decided that now they needed to eat. She took the book and said that next they needed to cut the meat and then add oil to the pan. After a while, the food was ready. Dalen was happy. She hadn't smelled anything like this in a long time. It was all thanks to Kels helping her. Dalen asked what he thought about cooking. Kels said it wasn't difficult. Then Dalen asked if he had fun. But Kels didn't understand the question. Dalen didn't know how to explain what it meant. She said that he probably only did it because she told him to. She asked if he wanted to cook something else. Kels asked if he had to cook again now. Dalen said he didn't have to force himself. She said they could think of something else to do, and maybe she would get better at cooking with lots of practice. Suddenly, Kels's eyes lit up, and he said he wanted to cook some more. Dalen was offended, thinking he was a traitor because just yesterday he had eaten her food. She said aloud that she would look forward to his dish. The stew turned out very tasty, despite a slightly bitter aftertaste. Soon, Kels's socialization began. But there was one problem that they couldn't solve even after they learned to talk. Dalen asked if he liked her. Still, Kels replied that he did not like her. Dalen considered him hopeless. Even dogs show love to those who care for them. Dalen asked why he did not like her. Kels replied that she was noisy. Dalen was not surprised by this answer. After all, she had been on the verge of death several times while sleeping. She snored and ground her teeth every night. But what could Dalen do? She sleeps restlessly because she is tired. She said that she hasn't been snoring or grinding her teeth as much lately. Kels learned quickly, and he already looks completely ready for his debut, judging by the way he cuts steak. Still, just because he has learned to tolerate sounds more easily does not mean that they do not annoy him. He can barely stand Dalen's sounds, which means he will not be able to stand the ball. Dalen asked how her breathing could bother him. She reminded him that she was not his enemy, because she was not carrying a knife with which she could try to kill him. Kels's gaze made it clear that he was telling her to just die if she couldn't be quieter. Dalen listed all the animals, but Kels said he didn't like any of them. Then Dalen pouted and said he didn't like anything. And from that moment on, she wouldn't breathe. Dalen thought that one day she would hear him say what he liked. After a while, Kels sat by the window and listened to the surrounding noise. Kels shuddered and looked at the leaf that had fallen nearby. Dalen said it was a leaf. She asked if he was going to fight it. Kels listened to Dalen's heartbeat and calmed down, telling himself that it was a leaf. Kels calmed down by breathing in and out. Dalen praised him, saying that he was calming down faster now. Kels thought this woman was very noisy. She moves loudly and always makes sounds, even when she is fast asleep. In the past, Kels was forced to be calm with drugs and spells on the battlefield. Kels told himself that he didn't need to get rid of these sounds. They didn't threaten him. Kels really liked the peace he felt now. Dalen wondered if this was really the only way to help him. Her legs were already starting to ache. She had been sitting for a long time, trying not to make a sound. She decided that if she served him as a maid, he would behave more nobly. But why should she be a maid? Noble society is based on hierarchy, and she is actually the daughter of a baron. Besides, Kels is not even a nobleman. Changing her posture, Dalen said that she actually comes from a noble family, so she doesn't need to speak to him respectfully. Kels replied yes, which greatly surprised Dalen. She asked if he was sure he didn't mind. Even so, his expression suggested that he was not going to repeat himself. Dalen happily announced that from now on she would speak informally. That said, this turned out to be more awkward than she had imagined. She didn't know what to talk to him about. After thinking for a moment, she decided to call him Kels. Still, Kels was not very happy. Dalen did not understand what the problem was. After all, he had agreed. A couple of days later, Dalen thanked the guards. Then the guys asked how the young gentleman was feeling. Dalen knew they didn't know the truth, so she kept acting like a saint. Dalen said she was fine because God himself was with her. The guys were blinded by her light. That's how a real saint should be. And then they asked for a blessing. A blessing is just a simple touch with a grain of divine power. But in reality, it doesn't do much. It just gives a person a little extra energy. And yet people believe that receiving even a fraction of divine power will make them luckier. Even on the battlefield, they seek out priests to ask for blessings. This often happened to Dalen, so she kindly agreed, saying it would cost only 20 silver coins. The guys clearly did not expect to have to pay for it. Still, Dalen is not going to give up. The basis of religion is faith, so the more she insists, the more they believe her. She said she could only bless those who stood before her, and their money will go to help other people in the world. And that is exactly what God wanted. Thus, even nonsense can seem like God's will if a priest says it. Dalen earned extra money this way, as her salary was low despite her heavy workload. Then Dalen leaned over and said that since fate had brought them together, she would give them a discount of 10 silver coins. The guys were happy with the discount, believing that now they would have good luck in life. Even so, Dalen knew that nothing special would happen, but at least she uses real divine power, unlike some people. The guys thanked her, saying they would always be grateful to God and would never miss their weekly prayers at the temple again. At moments like this, Dalen's conscience began to bother her. Then Dalen said goodbye and went into the mansion. Once inside, Dalen remembered the previous evening, when she had nearly died because of her foolishness. It all started when she called him by his name. She asked what was wrong. Did he not like it? Yet, Kels shook his head. Then Kels asked her to call him by his name again. Dalen was surprised by this request. Then she said that it was probably the first time anyone had called him that, and Kels nodded. Then Kels suddenly got up from the bed and sat down on the floor next to it. She said she would call him by his name more often so he could get used to it. Then Kels put his head on Dalen's lap and asked her to say his name. Suddenly, Dalen laughed, comparing him to a puppy playing with a sock for the first time. Afraid she had said too much, Dalen covered her mouth with her hand. Afraid she had been too loud, she fell silent. Even so, Kels wanted to sit and listen to her do it again. Dalen called him by name, but Kels said he wanted it and pointed to her face. Kels wanted to hear her laugh. That said, it's not easy to laugh when someone tells you to do it. But Dalen had to do it, otherwise he would get angry. Seeing the strange expression on his face, Dalen said that no one laughs alone, and if he wants to fit into high society, he must learn to laugh too. At that moment, Kels weighed his old knowledge against his new knowledge, and the complexity of the task made his head spin. Dalen began to think about where to start, because Kels had never laughed before. Then she cheered up and said that he would succeed. After all, everyone else does it, so Kels will succeed too. Kels cheered up too, and they said, "Hooray," together. The next morning, Dalen thought that teaching him to laugh and smile would not be difficult. Since there are muscles in the face, he should understand quickly. But will he be able to get along with normal people? Although that question shouldn't concern her, since she was only responsible for his successful debut. Then she entered Kels's room and said hello. Dalen said that today they would practice laughing. Suddenly, Kels grabbed Dalen and rushed to the balcony. Saying that there was a man there, he jumped down. Turning around, the man screamed in fear. It was Lauren. He was acting very strangely, as if he were the main character in a yaoi manga. It turned out that he just wanted to get their attention. Still, Kels was not happy to see him. Then Dalen calmed Kels down, saying that everything was fine. While Dalen was dealing with Kels, Lauren slowly got up. Suddenly, he said that they looked cute together. Dalen didn't understand what he meant. She said that it had almost ended in bloodshed. That said, Lauren said that Kels should have sensed him as soon as he entered the estate. Suddenly, Kels calmed down, which greatly surprised Dalen. Then Lauren said that Dalen was doing well, and Kels became more balanced. Dalen was pleased to hear praise for her work. She modestly asked if it was really that noticeable. Lauren praised the girl for her hard work. Unable to contain her emotions, Dalen said that she put all her strength and faith into her work. She said that her sincere efforts could not be replaced by anything else. Then Lauren took the hint and said that he would not forget to reward her properly. Then Dalen asked what he was doing there so early. Lauren replied that he had come to give her this. It was a book on etiquette for audiences with the imperial family. Looking at Dalen's book, she realized that new challenges awaited her. Looking at Lauren, she said that the title of the book sounded threatening. Lauren smiled and said that it was quite the opposite. It was news to be celebrated. After all, Prince Sebastian and Lady Charlotte were planning to visit them tomorrow. Dalen said that was impossible. Even so, Lauren believed they were ready. She asked if that meant he couldn't cancel the imperial family's visit. Lauren said that was indeed the case. He told her not to worry, but Dalen was lost. Kels stood silently and watched what was happening. Later, Dalen and Kels returned to the mansion. Dalen asked him if it would be fair if he were killed because a member of the imperial family didn't like him, despite winning the war. Kels replied that he always risked his life. It was a bad answer. She thought about what they had done to him in training, that he was now like this. Then Dalen asked how many lives he had. Kels replied that he had one, just like everyone else. Dalen told him to take care of his life while he still had it. She hoped that one day her words would save him. After all, no one had ever told him that before. Then Dalen praised him, saying that he was doing everything just as she had taught him. Then she said that they would practice laughing later. But now they had an important mission to accomplish. Their mission was to do a thorough cleaning. Dalen understood that if they showed this dirty mansion, their budget would be cut. Then she told Kels that guests would not look into every room, so it was important to clean the hallway perfectly. Then they split up, with Dalen going to clean the first floor and Kels the second. Although Lord Lawrence said that there were people responsible for cleaning here, in reality, everyone ran away at the sight of Kels running. As a result, Dalen had to do the cleaning. Still, she and Kels are not capricious people. They can take care of themselves. Dalen wanted everyone who entered the mansion to be amazed by its cleanliness. Dalen felt calm and peaceful, even though she had a lot to do, such as cleaning the entire mansion and meeting the imperial family. Suddenly, Dalen came to the conclusion that she was born with a steel psyche. Even after the war, she still had enough nerves to become even stronger. Suddenly, Dalen stopped. She wasn't sure if Kels knew how to clean up. Dropping everything, she ran to him. On the way, she thought about how she was brainless for letting him clean up and tidy up alone. Dalen hoped he hadn't torn down all the wallpaper in an attempt to make the hallway look like that white room. When she reached the second floor, the bright light blinded Dalen. She was very surprised by how clean it was. Then she told Kels not to move. Then Dalen approached him and told him to only check the visible areas. He must remember that this cleaning is necessary for visibility. They need maximum effect with minimum physical effort. This was a war where they needed to destroy as many enemies as possible with minimal energy expenditure. Kels compared it to a fight, and Dalen said it could be called a battle with dust. Dalen said that first they needed to remove all the visible dust. Only then could they remove the small particles. Kels was ready to destroy his enemies. The next day, members of the imperial family arrived. Dalen, with a black eye, and Kels were waiting for them. You're probably wondering why she looks like that. Last night, they finished cleaning thanks to Kels's excellent physical abilities. Dalen said that if he became a professional cleaner, he would be very successful. Suddenly, she said that it wasn't time to relax yet. Now it was time for them to carry out their next mission. Their next mission was to avoid being executed for rudeness. So, it was time to learn etiquette. Lauren gave them the latest version of the training book, but etiquette hasn't changed much in the last 5 years. That being the case, all this knowledge is already in Dalen's head. Ordinary priests also received thorough training in etiquette, where Dalen took first place for her knowledge of etiquette. Then she said they would start with greetings. To do this, you need to tense your stomach and keep your back straight. Keep your shoulders straight, not slumped as if you were nervous. Then greet them, gracefully describing an arc with your shoulders. Kels repeated all the movements perfectly on his first try. His beauty literally blinded Dalen. He radiated a golden light that only veteran priests who had survived 10 years of meetings with the imperial family and aristocrats could emit. Dalen was shocked because he possessed a skill that even she herself did not have. Kels said it was an easy movement. Kels had learned etiquette so well that he now radiated a golden light. Dalen was both jealous and proud of him at the same time. Thus, they successfully completed all their missions. Suddenly, Dalen rushed forward. She grabbed Kels so he couldn't run away. She reminded him that the imperial family was coming, and they needed to greet them. Dalen reminded him that 98% of the animals on their estate were small animals. Still, Kels's irritability outside the mansion increased significantly. It felt like he was ready to kill anything that moved. Yesterday, Dalen kept running after Kels, begging him not to kill a man. That said, Kels was very stubborn. Dalen had to go through a lot that day. Now you know where all those wounds and the bruise under her eye came from. However, Dalen decided that she would not pretend to be noble. She would show that she was suffering, so that they would understand her and give her money. The mansion is clean, but she is dirty. This will be most effective. Dalen was sure that Lady Charlotte had come for political reasons, which was not the case with her son. Dalen told Kels that they had arrived, and as soon as they came out, he should greet them as they had practiced. Kels said he understood. Kels kept his distance, at which he could withstand new people. There is no rule in etiquette that says you have to greet people at close range, but Charlotte and the prince had to understand if they valued their lives. Here is Dalen's backup source of money. Lady Charlotte was too dazzling. Even though Charlotte is a source of money, it is an honor for Dalen to meet her. They and Kels greeted the third prince and Lady Charlotte. Dalen introduced Kels to them, saying that he was standing behind her. Lady Charlotte was surprised to see her and asked what had happened to her. Lauren grimaced, not understanding what kind of spectacle Dalen had staged. Dalen was glad they had noticed. Then she said that God himself was leading her, and that the path could sometimes be thorny and dangerous. Even so, she could not stop because she was a servant of God. Lady Charlotte's heart was torn by how hard Dalen was trying to follow God's will. She used to think that priests only prayed and gave blessings. Then she bent down and asked the prince if he agreed with her opinion. The boy agreed. Then the prince turned to Dalen and praised her for her good work. He was very handsome, just like his mother. From the outside, they looked like brother and sister because of Lady Charlotte's youthful face. That said, Sebastian's eyes were exactly like his mother's. At first glance, he had green eyes and platinum hair, like his mother. But when he moved and the light fell on him, his hair and eyes glowed in different colors. His eyes were proof that he was from the imperial family. Then he asked why Kels was so far away. Dalen said that he had very sensitive hearing, and if he came too close, his ears might explode. Sebastian was very surprised and said that then there was nothing left to do but watch him from here. Dalen said that he had recently returned from the war and needed rest, but gradually they would be able to greet each other at a closer distance. Of course, Dalen lied about the reason, because she couldn't tell him that the evil Kels could kill him. Instead, she offered to show him the mansion where Kels lives. Everything was going well. Now they just had to follow the route they had rehearsed with Kels. That's what Dalen thought. Suddenly, an arrow flew by, narrowly missing the young prince. First, someone started screaming, and then all hell broke loose. The guards immediately surrounded the prince and Charlotte. Lauren said to use the whistle. Still, Dalen was already running after Kels. She had to stop him, no matter what it took. Dalen ran after Kels without hesitation. All she could think about was murder. After all, Charlotte and the prince had knights accompanying them. Suddenly, Kels jumped somewhere. Dalen lost sight of him. The knight told her to leave, but Dalen asked why they were still there. After all, Lord Lauren had instructed them to keep a distance of more than 300 meters. And if they had a target to escort, they needed to leave while guarding the target. If Kels had simply caught the criminal, there would have been no reason to run and stop him. The problem was that after the arrest, he killed the enemy. He was easily aroused by violence, blood, and the sensation of flesh being torn apart. He went so crazy that he killed everyone indiscriminately. It would be problematic if even one member of the imperial family's entourage were torn to death. Dalen told everyone to leave, saying she would take care of everything herself. Suddenly there was a noise. Someone was begging for help. As they got closer, they saw a lot of blood. A bloody human hand appeared from under a bush. Dalen realized it was too late. Kels had already turned into a bloodthirsty monster. Lauren emerged from the crowd, shouting why she hadn't run away, and told her to use the whistle. But she didn't want to hurt him by using the whistle. She ran towards Kels, thinking whatever would happen. Lauren was shocked by her decision. Dalen ran and hugged Kels, begging him to stop. Then she jumped on him, wrapping her arms and legs around him. Kels was furious, ready to kill everyone present. Lauren begged Dalen to use the whistle. Even so, Dalen did not listen to him. Lauren shouted that she would die. Dalen knew this from the beginning, but she wanted to give him a chance. She gently stroked his head and suggested they stop and take a breather. Dalen hugged him tightly, hoping he would stop and calm down. At that moment, Kels stopped. Dalen said that if he didn't calm down, they would all die. Then Kels jumped and ran because he was not afraid of death. Dalen hit him on the shoulder, telling him to stop immediately. But Kels was determined to kill. He believed that it would not end until he killed. Kels was programmed to kill and destroy. Dalen begged him to stop. After all, he was human now. Kels could hear her heart beating. People slowly began to surround them, but to Kels, everyone around him was an enemy. Suddenly, Kels stopped. He heard a voice desperately calling his name. Then Dalen asked if he had come to his senses. Then Kels replied that he could hear her heart beating. Thinking she was too noisy, she tried to get off him. Still, Kels hugged her, saying he wanted to listen some more. Then they went to their guests. They urgently needed to defuse the situation. Suddenly, Lady Charlotte said that Dalen's job was more difficult than she had imagined. Dalen was shocked. She modestly said that she was only following God's will. She also apologized for scaring them. Still, Lady Charlotte said that it was nothing to worry about, as there were constant attempts on her life. She said she was endlessly amazed by God's love and mercy and by Dalen's courage. Dalen was blinded by her kindness and beauty. She bowed and said that this was her mission. Dalen cultivated the image of a saintly person who was willing to sacrifice her body. Lady Charlotte said she would not interfere in matters concerning God, but she wanted to help in any way she could. Dalen was very tired. She almost died, risking her life. Dalen was so exhausted that she couldn't even think of asking for anything. She asked how the prince was feeling. To Dalen's surprise, the prince looked pleased. He was delighted with Kels's performance. Then he said he would look forward to seeing them at the next banquet. Dalen was surprised by his reaction. She thought he had poor eyesight. Then Lady Charlotte said that it would not be easy for the priestess, as debuting in high society was no easy task. Although everyone around her was skeptical, judging by today, everything was better than Charlotte had expected. She asked if it would be possible for her to talk to Kels one day. Dalen was surprised by this question. Exhaling, she said that it was possible. Then Lady Charlotte held out her hand to her. She said she would look forward to that day. Due to recent events, Dalen did not immediately understand that she needed to shake hands. Realizing this, she hurried to extend her hand. Dalen said it was an honor to touch her hand. She thought Lady Charlotte was very brave because she had never been on the battlefield. But despite this, she shook her bloodied hand without hesitation. Suddenly, Dalen felt a divine power emanating from Lady Charlotte. Lady Charlotte said she was pleased that such a capable priestess was in charge of this matter. Then she said that she would rely on her in the future. Dalen was surprised. She had just felt divine power emanating from her. Divine power is a mysterious ability that cannot be seen or measured. Few people have it, and even fewer have a level of power so high that it can simply be felt. That is why some people live and die without ever realizing that they possess divine power. Still, when Dalen's powers manifested, it seemed impossible for her to go unnoticed. The Emperor's wife clearly knows that she possesses divine power, and very powerful power at that. Lady Charlotte said a sweet goodbye to Mrs. Dalen and Mr. Kels, but what should she do with this information? Then Dalen wished them a safe journey. She wondered why the Emperor's wife, who possessed divine power, was interested in a member of the 8th Squad. Dalen felt as if she were following a script written by someone else. Could it all be God's doing? Surprisingly, Kels was calm. If she had left him alone in the room, she would have been very worried. It looks as if he is sleeping standing up. Dalen used a lot of divine power to stun him. Now that they were alone, they could take off their masks. They were very tired. For them, this day had been endless. Dalen opened the doors and then took Kels by the hand. She led him into the bedroom and sat him down on a chair. Kel sat silently, his face expressionless. Dalen didn't know how to help him, so she decided to just leave him alone. Leaving the room, she breathed a sigh of relief. Then Lauren appeared in front of her, wanting to talk to her. He said they could be in big trouble. He asked why Dalen didn't use the whistle. After all, Lady Charlotte, the prince, and everyone else there could have fallen victim to Kel's. Still, Dalen said that if they wanted to make him human, they had to treat him like a human. Besides, Dalen was sure of him. That said, Lauren said that she looked too confused for someone who was confident. Then he exhaled and said that he would believe her, since Dalen spends every day with him. Then Lauren said that he had to talk to his boss, collect the body parts, write a report, and then conduct a secret investigation. He said that if she needed anything, she could always call him. On the way, Lauren thought about the assignment he had given her, realizing that it would be almost impossible. The realization of his true nature made him feel sick to his stomach. He couldn't understand his boss's intentions at all. Then Dalen returned to the room. She was exhausted. Looking at Kel, she asked how he was feeling. He said he was fine. Still, he looked very tired. Dalen was shocked by his appearance. She said she had a new mission for them. They are going to wash up. And now Kels was sitting in the bathtub. Dalen said he could undress and wash himself. And then she left. Left alone, Kel stood up and undressed. Then he turned around and went to get the soap. As soon as he touched the soap, he immediately withdrew his hand. He thought about how slippery it was. Then Kel sniffed his hand. It smelled of mild soap. Kels thought everything around him was so fragile, like flowers that crumpled underfoot. He thought that the taste of food, smells, rest, and cleanliness were unnecessary in war. Remembering Dalen, he thought about what he liked and didn't like. I don't like cleanliness. He disliked slipping. He liked soap. He disliked the sound of dripping water. Kels was very annoyed by all the sounds. He wanted to turn them all off. Even so, there was one sound he wanted to hear. As he began to wash, he thought about Dalen. He wanted to listen to her heartbeat. Kels took a quick bath. He didn't know how to wash thoroughly. Then, without thinking twice, he hurried to Dalen. At that moment, Dalen was relaxing in the bath, enjoying the warm water. Suddenly, she wondered if the other members of the 8th Squad had been assigned priests for their education. Dalen considered Kels to be diligent, perhaps the most capable among them. At that moment, Kels enters her bathroom. He was not wearing any clothes, absolutely none. Dalen was shocked to see him there. Then she remembered that she was naked, and he had shamelessly barged in on her. Dalen screamed at the top of her lungs, and then she threw a bucket at Kels. Kels thought he should dodge the blow. Dalen's heart was beating faster than usual. Kels's ears started bleeding. Dalen was frightened and thought about her behavior, although, actually, it was his fault for coming into the bathroom naked. Dalen said you shouldn't open the bathroom door suddenly when someone is in there. Then Kels slowly approached Dalen with his eyes closed. Then he came up to her and said that the heartbeat was too far away. And Kels really likes listening to her up close. Dalen was surprised. After all, it was the first time Kels had ever said he liked something. It was impressive progress, and if he were a real puppy, she would have treated him to a tasty snack. Still, he was a human. Then Dalen told him to close his eyes. Then she told him to leave immediately and close the door behind him. Kels obediently left and closed the door. Left alone, Dalen realized that she would not be able to take a bath calmly. She concluded that Kels had become more stable because of her heartbeat. Then Dalen got up and began drying herself with a towel. A short time later, Dalen went to Kels, but he was also undressed. Dalen begged herself not to look down. Nevertheless, she couldn't deny that she had never seen anything like it before. Dalen had seen many male bodies on the battlefield, albeit covered in blood. Even so, Kels was very hot, and after a shower, he looked absolutely perfect. Dalen was surprised that he had made an effort to wash himself well, but not too diligently, judging by the stain on his cheek. Then Dalen discovered stains in other places on his body. She concluded that Kels washed himself by simply pouring water over himself. Kels replied that he always washed himself that way. Dalen was horrified that he had not been taught how to wash himself, although they didn't care because the 8th squad was a suicide squad. But why should Dalen be the one to teach him how to wash himself? She gave Kels a bandage and said that if he dropped it, she would kill him. Dalen couldn't forget the sight of his banana and apple. She really wanted to erase those memories. Kels said that her heartbeat was loud and her gait was unsteady. Dalen replied that she was fine. When Dalen entered his bathroom, she saw a half-empty bathtub and a dirty towel. Now she understood why he was so dirty. Dalen explained that if he turned the tap to the left, hot water would come out, and if he turned it to the right, cold water would come out. Once he had adjusted the water to a comfortable temperature, he had to fill the bathtub. She pulled him by the hand and told him to sit down. If the water is hot, he should add cold water, and if it is cold, he should add hot water. Judging by Kels's face, he was very unhappy. He said he didn't like the bath. Dalen decided to check the temperature, thinking that was the problem. Still, the water was a pleasant temperature. Then Kels said that his senses were dulled, which meant he couldn't prepare for an attack. It turned out that it wasn't a matter of preference, but of adaptation. Dalen said that a bath should be relaxing. With time, he would get used to it and learn to enjoy it. Dalen understood that he was constantly tense on the battlefield, so he didn't know how to relax. She asked him not to move and said she would teach him how to wash his hair. First, he needed to close his eyes so that the foam wouldn't get in them. Dalen said he could open them if he felt uncomfortable. The foam did get in his eyes. Dalen said she was done and would now rinse his eyes. Kels's face was devilishly handsome and dazzling. Dalen knew he would break many women's hearts. Then she asked him to tilt his head back a little. Dalen told him to relax his shoulders and trust her. Suddenly, Kels got scared and opened his eyes. That said, Dalen quickly reassured him, saying that he was doing well. Then she took his hand and said that the dirt under his fingernails needed to be cleaned. Usually, others do this for the young master, and if he doesn't want them to, he needs to learn to do it himself. Dalen told him to dry himself with a towel and come out. Dalen had a feeling she had taken on something huge when she decided to take on Kels's upbringing. Then she said she would go to the kitchen for some fruit. As she left, she told Kels to put on the robe hanging by the door. When Dalen left, Kels tried to relax. After a while, Dalen returned and praised him for washing thoroughly and putting on a robe. She asked if he was sure he wanted to stay in this room. After all, this room was pink and very girly. This didn't suit Kels, who was annoyed by everything. Dalen remembers that Kels prefers a simple white room with a minimal amount of stuff. She asked if he was feeling okay. Kels said he was probably okay. Dalen thought he sounded unsure of himself. She said that if he was comfortable here, then of course he could stay. She reminded him that her bedroom was nearby. Kels said he didn't care. Remembering the previous night, Dalen thought that nothing good would come of this. Then Dalen thought about it and decided to look for a room in a more convenient location. First, there was a neat room, then a luxurious one. There was even a very strange room that looked like a torture chamber. Unable to find a suitable room, Dalen suggested looking again tomorrow. Then Kels said he would sleep on the roof. Then he went to the bed. Dalen was surprised by such a simple solution and wished him good night. Kels slept on a pink bed surrounded by soft toys. For some reason, he couldn't sleep. At this time, Dalen was already snoring loudly. The noise bothered Kels, even though Dalen's snoring and heartbeat were loud, but Kels liked them, and he fell asleep to their sound. The next day, Dalen praised Kels. He was able to wash himself clean. Looking at his wet clothes, she remembered that she hadn't taught him how to dry himself. After sniffing him, she said that now he smelled like a real nobleman, clean. Dalen said that if he got dressed up a little, he could go to the reception right away. He looked at her smile and said he liked it. Dalen misunderstood. She thought that Kels had finally grown to love taking baths. Kels didn't understand what the body had to do with it. Dalen began to dry his hair with a towel and told him to close his eyes. Kels found this difficult. He had been trained to always be alert. His entire squad was supposed to die, but Kels did not want to follow that order. He was afraid to even sleep, so he kept his eyes open until the very end. Kels did not want to die. He just wanted to survive. But he could not tell Dalen that. She said that in time he would learn to bathe with his eyes open. Dalen explained that when he became a nobleman, his servants would have to do it for him. But since he didn't want that, she would teach him to do it himself. Kels was afraid to close his eyes. The longer they were closed, the scarier it was. Then Dalen left and brought back a mirror. She said that Kels had a beautiful appearance, so he should know what he looked like. Kels was silent. He didn't know what to say. Dalen brought the mirror closer and told him to take a good look at himself. She said that in high society, his face would be appreciated. Kels must have had very beautiful parents. But Kels had been training in the squad since childhood. So did they send him to the battlefield themselves? Dalen thought about how the other members had ended up in the 8th squad. Even if she found out, what could she do? At that time, in the mansion where another member of the 8th squad lived, a priest was lying on the floor. Lauren arrived immediately when he heard about the murder. He no longer knows what to do with this monster. Kels looked incredible in his formal attire. Dalen was dazzled by his appearance. He literally radiated bright light. She told Kels that he was insanely handsome. Dalen began to fix minor details in his clothing. She explained that she liked doing this, and that in high society, such minor details demonstrated nobility. Now Kels looked simply flawless. Dalen already imagined how Kels would turn high society upside down with his beauty. If he hadn't joined the army, he would have become famous. Even if he had been called the Lost Prince, everyone would have believed it. Kels must have been as cute as Prince Sebastian when he was a child. Then Dalen asked how Kels ended up in the squad. But Kels said he didn't know, which surprised Dalen greatly. She asked if it was because he was young. But Kels said he had no memories before joining the army. Dalen asked how old he was when he joined. But Kels said he didn't know. She asked what his name was, but he didn't know that either. Kels said that had been his name from the beginning. Dalen asked if he remembered anyone from his squad. Kels said he remembered everyone. Once, Lauren said that spells were used on the members of the 8th squad. Perhaps their memories had also been erased. And that cannot be called care. Dalen decided to try to restore his memories. But the spells turned out to be unknown and crudely cast. If she had touched them carelessly, Kels could have been left disabled. Dalen decides to look for information about old spells so she can try again later. She praised Kels for his patience and said that next they would have a lesson in etiquette. She told him to prepare himself because she would make him study relentlessly. Kels humbly agreed. Dalen expected pleas for mercy. She thought he was a dumb jock who didn't like to study. She expected reactions like that. Or, in the worst case, Kels could jump out the window. But he was so calm. If Kels didn't want to smile, Dalen would make him cry. On the way, she talked about her unsuccessful debut. For her older brother's debut, the whole family collected money for a stunning suit. But for Dalen's debut, her parents borrowed a dress from a distant relative. Everyone around her laughed at her. After all, she looked 10 years older in that old-fashioned dress. But Dalen will make sure that doesn't happen to him. After all, she had already been disgraced, so she knew how to avoid it. Then Kels stopped and said he understood her. Dalen said she didn't understand what he was thinking at all, but she knows he will make many girls cry. Then Kels asked if making girls cry was his mission. Dalen said it wasn't. Dalen was shocked during etiquette class. Kels's handwriting was perfect, even though he had only seen the letters for the first time today. Handwriting like that cannot be a coincidence. Dalen gave him an assignment to copy the letters. She showed him how to hold the pen and explained that the first letter was A. Kels again perfectly copied the word he was seeing for the first time. Dalen was very surprised by his abilities. Then she gave him a more difficult task. to write words with upper and lowercase letters. Kels is a genius. He copied everything perfectly on the first try. After that, they started reading. Since Kels is learning so quickly, Daylin decides to come up with a signature for him to use when he goes out in society. Daylin herself has a printed signature, which is rather shameful. Suddenly, she realized that Kels's talent could be monetized. After all, aristocrats are willing to pay a lot for a decent autograph. More importantly, when Kels makes her debut, Daylin will also become Her Holiness or even Her Eminence. It turns out that she herself also needs a normal signature, but it is awkward to ask Kels for it. It would seem presumptuous. But in the end, she made up her mind and asked him to do her one favor. Kels said he had to hear the request before he could promise anything. Daylin asked if he could come up with a signature for her. After a while, Daylin got her autograph. She told Kels that he could have just refused if he didn't want to do it, but Kels said that was all he could come up with. Seeing that she was upset, Kels said he would try again. Then he sat down at the table and started writing. He imagined that the paper was a battlefield. But alas, he lost. The worms on his notebook are proof of that. Then Kels fell face down and died. A few days later, birds were singing in the street and a light breeze was blowing. Daylin stood at the window and enjoyed the peace and quiet. She considered this place to be heaven on earth. After all, the first thing she saw when she woke up in the morning was a clean and dressed Kels. Every meal they ate was prepared by Chef Kels. In his free time, Kels cleaned the house. At first, Daylin thought her job would be a trip to hell, but in reality, everything turned out better than she expected. Now all she has to do is teach Kels the basics of etiquette, read books to him, and enjoy her meals. Today, Daylin decided to practice baking. It's the only thing this brilliant puppy isn't good at. Daylin didn't know what to teach him today, so she would ask him. After knocking and receiving permission, she entered his room. She was delighted by the sight of him. Kels was sitting by the window reading a book. He looked relaxed and was enjoying his reading and a cup of tea. Daylin was proud of her handsome student. Suddenly, there was the sound of a broken cup. Kels was angry about something. Daylin hugged him, hoping to calm him down. She noticed that he quickly calmed down in her arms. But this time, for some reason, Kels did not calm down. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. Daylin was surprised by the unexpected visitor. After all, she had been promised that there would be no unexpected visits, and no one would knock like that anyway. Nothing could be seen from the window. Daylin suggested they go downstairs to see who had come. She asked what she had taught him to do in such situations, and Kels replied that they should check whose voice it was and decide whether to let them in or not. Then they went downstairs. In case of danger, Daylin wanted to order Kels to take out the enemy, but she immediately pushed those thoughts away. She stopped Kels and told him to wait there while she went to find out who had come. In case of danger, she would deal with it. Kels looked at Daylin with doubt, but Daylin showed her fighting power, which God himself had given her. In the worst case, she would burn the enemy while no one was looking. Approaching the door, she heard a familiar voice behind it. It was Lauren. He apologized for the sudden visit and asked permission to enter, and with him came some guy, whom Kels was not happy to see. Daylin had completely forgotten that trials come unexpectedly. Kels said he didn't like what was happening. Lauren apologized and said it was the first and last time. But Kels was very unhappy. Daylin said she was afraid for Lauren, because if he went in, he could die. Daylin didn't know who they had brought, since Kels was acting this way. But she couldn't ignore these soldiers. Daylin approached Kels and hugged him. Then she signaled for them to carry the guy away and hide him while she held Kels. They reacted quickly and carried the guy away. Daylin stroked the angry Kels. Judging by Kels's reaction and Lauren's battered appearance, he is one of his squad members. Then Daylin led him into the room. After a while, she sat in a chair and said no to Lauren. Lauren begged her to reconsider. Daylin said she would think about it, stroking Kels's head at the same time. After thinking it over, she told Lauren that she couldn't take on another member of the 8th Squad, especially since he wasn't as kind as Kels, having killed half of the priests. Besides, Kels didn't like it very much either. She explained that Kels only sat in that position when something unpleasant was happening. Lauren admitted that he had no one else to entrust this to but her, and if she refused, he would have to kill him. Dalen didn't want him to be killed. Her life had just started to get better, but the world wouldn't let her rest in peace. Lauren said it was temporary, until he found another priest. She just had to watch over him so he didn't get into trouble. Dalen was struggling internally. She was worried about him, but at the same time, she wasn't obligated to do this. At that moment, the angel said that Lauren wouldn't make her work for free. Lauren said that in return, he would give her twice as much money for expenses. Dalen said that 2 people require twice as much work. Then Lauren said that overhead costs would double, and the additional allowance would be increased 4-fold. Then Dalen said she couldn't refuse people who needed help. Lauren fell to her knees and thanked Dalen, calling her goddess. Dalen understood that she was in a difficult position, and her only salvation was money. After some time, Dalen and Kels came to visit the redhead. She asked Kels not to come too close, saying that everything would be fine because he had been put to sleep. But Kels didn't think so. Dalen turned around and was terrified, but Kels reacted in time and saved her. The redhead got angry and told Kels not to get cocky. Kels said he was making too much noise. Then the redhead hit Kels and said he was very noisy too. They were not happy with each other. The redhead said he was a crazy jerk, but the dark-haired guy said he was Kels. Then they started fighting. Dalen was surprised. They didn't stop arguing, even while exchanging blows. She didn't know whether to intervene or if this was just how they communicated. Lauren handed Hart a whistle and told him to use it if he was in danger. But judging by their fight, Dalen was not in danger at the moment. Kels sat on Hart and beat him, until he fell silent. Dalen asked how he was feeling. Kels lifted the bloodied body and said he had defeated him. Dalen said they hadn't fought before. Kels said they tolerated each other because of orders. Kels said he had cooled his ardor, but not for long, because the members of his squad don't give up so easily. Hart is a master of surprise attacks, a skilled killer. He is stubborn by nature, so it will be difficult to ignore him. Kels said he would deal with this uncontrollable guy himself, and if it happens again, he will kill him. Dalen was afraid that there would be casualties, so she took care of him, although now he already looks like a corpse. She suggested that Kels do everything as gently as possible. Kels decided to find the softest rope, and when he wakes up, he will beat him as gently as possible. Hart began to come to. As soon as he got up, he started to run away, and Kels ran after him to gently tie him up. In the end, he caught him and gently beat him. After a while, Hart sat at the table and ate. He was surprised that the scoundrel Kels had prepared such delicious food. Dalen asked if he could taste the food. Hart said of course he could taste it because he had a tongue. Then she asked Kels. Kels said that he could taste it too. Kels did not enjoy the food even though he knew what was in it, so Dalen thought that he could not taste it. Dalen asked if he could hear the sound of her heartbeat or the flapping of birds' wings. Hart said he could hear it. Dalen asked if it bothered him. Hart was surprised by the question. He said he had never thought about it. Dalen was surprised that he was capable of thinking. Hart became upset and asked why she was treating him like a dog. Dalen apologized and said she didn't mean to. She said she had a different experience with Kels. That's why she's a little surprised. After thinking for a moment, he called Dalen a cool sister. Dalen asked why he was making that face. Hart said he just thought she was too cool. Even now, it was clear that he had social skills, and it was awkward to call him a mad dog. Hart said that he would now call her a cool sister, so she could untie him. Dalen said she would think about it. Hart said that he was different from the other members of the squad. He joined when he was older than the others. Therefore, he knew a little more about the world than the other dogs and had undergone fewer procedures. Even Lauren, an army staff officer, did not know about the numerous procedures and spells performed on the dogs. The procedures and spells were unofficial orders that were not recorded anywhere. Only the performers and the people who went through it knew about it. Perhaps it was from Hart that she learned what procedures and spells were used on the dogs. Dalen asked him directly what he knew about the procedures and spells. Hart said that they were needed to make their sensations more acute. At this time, Kels was watching the redhead closely. Hart told Dalen that he tried to use it, but it was unbearable in the heat of battle. They were constantly told to do whatever it took to survive. Those who couldn't bear it and went mad were killed. Those they felt sorry for killing were taken away and had their memories wiped. Dalen didn't understand before that sanity on the battlefield is nothing like sanity in peacetime. The conversation with Hart was informative. Kels was annoyed by the current situation, but it seemed that he was gradually getting used to living together. And Dalen just had to wait until Hart was assigned a new priest. And now Dalen's main task was to live to see that day. She asked how long they were going to stand there like that. Hart told his sister that he was afraid of that mad dog, and Kels would not back down until the redhead moved away from her. How did it all turn out this way? Let's go back a few days. Hart was stretching after being untied. He praised the mad dog, calling its food damn tasty. Dalen said it wasn't just her, but Kels too. He learns very quickly. Hart thinks he lived in a mansion before he joined the 8th Company. He was incredibly handsome since childhood. He seemed like the son of an aristocrat, but if that's the case, why is he here? Dalen asked Hart if he remembered when Kels came. He said that Kels came with his memories already erased. Did he really understand this just by looking at Kels? According to Hart, Kels looked strange, and it was clear just by looking at him that he had been turned into an idiot. He had forgotten everything: how to talk, sleep, eat, and live. Kels was like a wild animal. He performed well on the battlefield. However, there were those whose memories were erased repeatedly in order to restore their sanity. But that was not the case with the mad dog. Dalen asked if it was dangerous to erase memories several times. Hart said that doing it several times could leave you disabled. Although there were idiots who were supposed to go mad and die on the battlefield in the first place, just a little later. Dalen was shocked. Is it pleasant to see your comrades die? Hart said that they would tear each other's throats out if they were ordered to. Kels nodded in agreement. They had gone through a nightmare, yet they spoke of it so indifferently. Dalen didn't know what to say to them. According to Hart, Kels had arrived with the knowledge of a baby. He thought that soon this bastard would lose his head. But no, he survived to the end, and they met again. Dalen was frightened and took Kels by the hand. Kels was ready to kick the redhead's ass. Dalen asked why he suddenly tensed up. But Hart himself didn't know the reason. He just wanted to fight when he saw this jerk. There are bastards he wants to fight. Apparently, he is annoyed by handsome bastards. Could it be a seizure? It's strange that Hart is the only one in the whole squad who wants to fight Kels. Hart was annoyed by Kels's gaze, which seemed to condemn him. The eyes, nose, and mouth of the bastard Kels despised him. He couldn't stand it. Kels covered Dalen with his body, telling her to step back. He himself took a defensive stance. If they flew out the window, they would be completely out of her control. Hart jumped and began attacking Kels. At that moment, Dalen hugged Kels and asked him not to hit Hart. In the end, he remained standing in place. The blow landed right on Kels's face. Dalen was very surprised. Hart was shocked and asked if he had really hit him. Kels replied that yes, he had. Hart was surprised that Kels didn't punch him in the face for hitting him. Dalen didn't understand why he was surprised, since he had hit him himself. She understood that now was not the time to be surprised. She needed to act. Hart called Dalen a bitch and told her not to teach him how to live. Dalen took him by the hand and asked him to give her a chance. At that moment, Dalen lit up the room. She knew it would work with Hart too. All kinds of people come to the temple. 20% of them are real customers. Real customers are those with whom it is useless to talk. There is only one way to deal with them, and it is quite simple. You need to overwhelm them with your enthusiasm. Dalen said that for someone so brave, who had survived the field of death and overcome many trials. It would be easy. She called him her brother and told him to feel his inner beauty, calmness, and willpower, which could suppress his fighting spirit. Hart did not fully understand what she was talking about, but Dalen's plan worked, and Hart calmed down. Dalen said that he was using his willpower to calm down. Hart was surprised that he was able to calm down. He said he hadn't felt that way in a long time. He was fascinated by the sister priestess. Overjoyed, Hart lifted Dalen up and thanked her, asking how she had done it. It was the first time he had felt this way since the war. He no longer felt like insects were crawling on him. Dalen said it was her little secret. Kels had also grown noticeably. She enjoyed seeing someone sparkle and grow. Suddenly, Kels grabbed Dalen and pulled her close. He doesn't like it when someone else touches Dalen. And so, Hart and Kels clashed heads again. Dalen asked them to calm down, since they had just calmed down. She offered them a snack. The boys immediately became interested, but Dalen's next sentence made them sad. Hart turned his head away from her and sighed. And Kels said he was a good puppy. Dalen still didn't understand what she had said to these two huge, muscular men. Several days passed. Hart yelled at the birds as usual, which stared at him disrespectfully. Hart couldn't control himself. He raged at every opportunity. Turning around, he started yelling at what the mad dog was staring at. But Kels said he was Kels. They say that the higher a dog's intelligence, the higher its irritability. He even picked on a rock he passed by. It seemed to him that the rock was asking for a fight. Dalen didn't mind that he fought with stones, but the problem was that his emotions were easily transferred to Kels. Dalen used to think that he was deliberately trying to provoke Kels, but it turned out that Hart was crazy himself. He was ready to fight even a cloud that gave him the middle finger. Once again, they started fighting over her, and Kels started acting childish. She began to stroke him to calm him down. After all, at that moment, Hart was saying nasty things to him. Kels liked being touched, perhaps because he had been through a lot as a child. Dalen said she needed to calm Hart down and would stroke him later. Although Kels agreed, he ended up pulling her back towards him. It turned out that someone had come to visit them at the estate. Dalen suggested that it might be Mr. Lauren. Suddenly, an arrow flew straight at them. Kels managed to react and protect Dalen. She was terrified by what was happening. It was not a simple arrow that flew at them, but an iron one. Then Hart jumped out of the window to catch and kill the attackers. Dalen asked Hart to wait, but Kels said it was dangerous. She understands that, but Hart must be stopped. If he goes outside, they will be in big trouble. Therefore, they need to catch up with him. Kels nodded. Then he picked her up and said he understood, and jumped out the window after Hart. Dalen thought that she had to catch up with the redhead anyway. Whether she did it alone or with Kels's help didn't really matter. She's just a bag, so let's stay calm. And finally, Hart's growl could be heard. Dalen was glad he didn't come out of the fence, but the sounds he made scared her very much. Dalen didn't want to risk her life anymore. She understood that she couldn't always be lucky, and besides, she didn't want Kels to lose his temper. She really regretted having to use the whistle. By the way, where was it? Then Dalen remembered that she had left it on the table that morning. She thought she was crazy for forgetting it. She knew it might come in handy someday. Then Kels said he would go ahead. Dalen didn't know what to do. Should she ask him to come back for the whistle? Then she just followed Kels. Kels was annoyed by the sounds around him. She begged him to be patient a little longer. And finally, they found Hart. He stood next to the bloody and dismembered bodies. He was covered in rage and blood. He attacked the remaining soldier. Dalen couldn't even think. Hart's attack alone would have been enough to win, but he was fighting with his bare hands, so he suffered greatly. Dalen wondered if she should run away and abandon everything. She held Kels and said that everything was fine. Dalen couldn't run away because she was a capable girl. Then she used magic and burned the enemy's face. It had been a long time since Dalen had used her magic. She used this skill on the battlefield, and only as a last resort. That arrow was undoubtedly aimed at her. It was self-defense, so God would forgive her. By the way, what about Hart? He was trembling all over. Kels was still furious. Daylin hugged him, begging him to calm down. It would certainly be very convenient if she could calm Hart down in the same way. She thought Hart was trembling with rage. Hart went through the war with a clear mind. He fought in a more conscious state. If you know about something terrible in advance, it will scare you even more. A person who has escaped death will take better care of themselves because they remember that fear. She slowly approached Hart and touched him. Then she hugged him. Daylin said he didn't need to fight anymore, that he was safe now. She had already dealt with everyone. Hart asked with a tremor in his voice if it was true. Daylin nodded and said he could rest easy. She was glad that he had calmed down and was speaking like a human being. But suddenly, tears began to flow from Hart's eyes. And then he began to sob loudly. Daylin was shocked. She never expected this from one of the mad dogs. Hart cried like a little child. Unfortunately, there was something Daylin didn't know.